Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of Lunch and Learn. As you know, we've been doing a couple of sessions on App Studio and how to work around with the events and with the menus and all that. Just before we finish off, we wanted to talk a little about some tips and tricks for developers working with Kinetic App Studio. So let's go ahead and get started. So most of this is from, like from when I've been working on Kinetic App Studio and the things that I've come across that I've kind of like put them all down. I've kind of like divided them into some groups. So first, let's talk about layers. When you work with layers, since App Studio has given us the ability to, like on our menu maintenance, we can choose which layer we want to work. We want it to become the default and all that. So always just make sure that you're using like multiple layers for different customizations. That way, what happens is like, when you think that you no longer need any customization, you don't have to again go back and make any changes and all that. Instead, you can just unselect that one particular layer on your menu maintenance, and that way it's going to save you a lot of time. Back on our classic applications, we would have done a customization on top of another customization to get that whole thing to be the default customization layer. But here, since we have the ability to choose that on the menu maintenance itself, so when you're doing different things, just make sure you kind of like have multiple layers for each customization. Document changes on each layer. This way, when multiple developers are working on one particular form, then like once you have some comments or something put up in place, or when you kind of save changes with some kind of a documentation, it just becomes easier to collaborate things, and then much more easier when you're troubleshooting some issues or something like that. So make sure that you have the proper documentation for each layer, which would again save you a lot of time. And when you have a standard, make sure all the developers follow it. So like here at Codabears, when we put in some kind of a customization, whether it's a customization layer or a BPM or anything like that, we kind of name it like with something that starts with CB or CBI. So that way I know that, like this was done from someone here at Codaverse. So if you have any such standards, just make sure that all the developers will follow that. It kind of like again, it kind of like becomes easier when you're searching for one particular layer, or like who worked on which layer kind of a thing. And also, while naming this layers, use something that will probably like make more sense. Like for example, when I'm working on our quick prints customization layer, for example, I kind of put in like, something like CB underscore QP and then followed with something else. So that way, what happens is when I go back onto the App Studio and I'm kind of searching for what all I have made changes on it. Like it could be like a number of events that I would have been creating for this particular quick print solution. When I name it with something with QP, it kind of becomes easier for me to search for that particular event that I'm looking for this customization. So when you're naming it, just make sure that it actually makes sense to you when you go back and search for it. And then functions. Since we moved to Kinetic, we use a lot of functions to write code. And functions is like more like it's like a reusable code, because when you write that function, you can use it from different places. Like suppose I have some kind of a validation check that I'm making. You can kind of use this function from your order form or from your code layer. You can use it from a lot of different places. So just use functions wherever you feel like you are going to have this reusable kind of a code. Make sure that you use functions instead of just doing it on that particular layer on App Studio. And then also when you make these functions, it kind of becomes easier to debug when you have like small chunks of code on each one of them. Like, you can probably create like a library, but if you make different functions in it, then it becomes easier when you are debugging it, because these small chunks of code can be named according to what they are doing, what the purpose of that function is, and then it becomes much more easier to debug than writing one single function which has like everything going on inside it. You can easily call those functions written in one particular library amongst themselves. So just make sure you kind of like break them into smaller pieces, which then again it becomes easier to debug. And then you can test your functions using Postman and the Epicor's API pages. When you actually test your function and make sure that it's working, as against just creating those functions, and then because you can't really like put in any display messages or anything in there. So it kind of it gets easier when you test it using your Postman or the Epicor's API pages. When you do that, it becomes easier to test your functions. One thing that I have faced when you're working with multiple companies, make sure that for one particular requirement, it could include a lot of things, like it could include functions, BPMs, BAQs, and all that. Make sure that you develop it in a single company, and then it becomes a lot easier for maintenance purposes. Because I've had this problem before, like I didn't realize it was like a multiple company, and then I did my BAQs on one company, my BPMs on another company, and then when I'm trying to export out all of this into my solution, I found that I was not able to use them, and only because I developed one in one company and the other in the other company. Just make sure that if you're in a single company, probably this wouldn't matter, but in case of multiple companies, always make sure to do the development on a single company, and then you can just export it out into your solution workbench then. And like I said before, always try to use proper comments which help you remember why you're doing something, whether it's your app studio layer or it's your function, whatever kind of thing you're trying to put in. Like you may be calling a REST ERP call in your function, you may be doing something with some table or something. Just try to put in proper comments, because once someone else is trying to troubleshoot it saves you a lot of time. And then it also, if you're doing your own customization layer, it helps you remember why you chose this particular REST ERP call, or why you chose this table for setting things up and things like that. So make sure that you put in proper comments whenever you're doing something on your App Studio or on your function or on your BPMs. And then always use a test environment for developing. That's what we always do. We try to make sure that we have a pilot environment or a test environment first, where we can do all the development. And because you don't want to break anything on your prod environment while doing your development. So always make sure that you use a test environment first while doing the development, and always involve the end user while testing. Sometimes the requirements can get a little confusing for the developers. Like, they think that this is what was meant on the code, and then you start working on that. But when you actually meet up with the end user, you realize that that's not what they're looking for. To avoid all the doing it all over again, just make sure that you involve your end user while you're developing and while you're testing. I would say not only while testing. I always make sure that I talk to, when I get a requirement, I talk to them beforehand and make sure that what I understand is what I'm developing on. And then some additional tips: separate out your solution for UD fields versus everything. Like when you're working on your pilot environment or your test environment, you have some UD fields that you're working on. You may want to separate that out when you're including it on your solution, just because if you don't have them on your prod yet, and then you're importing or you're installing your solution in there, it's going to error out when you don't have your UD fields inside them. So it's a good idea to always separate out the solutions for your UD fields versus all the others that you're using. And then try to keep your UI and your business logic separate. What happens is when Epicor does any upgrades, sometimes things break on the business objects when they include a new parameters in the methods or something like that. So when you try to keep your UI and your business logic separate, then it becomes easier for you when you go back and you're trying to fix things. It could be anything like, just from future maintenance problems or some browser UI upgrades that have happened, anything like that. So when you keep your UI and your business logic separate, it becomes easier when you're for your maintenance purposes. Always understand the basics before you dive in. This is probably for someone like who's starting out with App Studio and they don't have the complete understanding of what all are the widgets that Epicor has given us and all that. One way to do it would be like you could just write code, you could call a function and write code on that, or you could use the widgets that Epicor has already given us, and that can help you save some time when you understand the basics of what is happening on the App Studio over there. So try to use those widgets wherever you can, writing the complete code, and then use your business objects instead of direct database manipulation. So this is because this has always been the case with Epicor. It's always better to use your business objects instead of the direct database manipulation. Like instead of directly, let's say you're updating something on a data table, if when you do it using a business object, all of the ones following it, there could be tons of joins happening between some tables, and updating one field could affect multiple other things. So instead of doing this direct database manipulation in case you use your business objects and the methods that are inside those. When you use the business objects, the main advantage is you don't have to worry about, because Epicor kind of takes care of the underlying things that have to happen. Like let's say you're on an order, and then like one order is again related to the order line, order releases, and all that. So if you're changing something on the data table itself, like let's say you're changing maybe the date, the shipment date or something, the ship by date or something on the order header. So when you use your business objects and the methods that are related to that, it kind of makes sure that, the flow passes on from your order header to your order lines, your releases and all that. As against when you do direct database manipulation, then you would have to go ahead and change that same field in all the other places also. So using business objects on Epicor is suggestible as against the direct manipulation of data on the database. And then also put references, like let's say like I'm trying to use some kind of code that I found somewhere online, and when you kind of like save them and you use those URLs and you put something in your comments, it helps you to maintain this in your future, so that you don't have to again go back and search for things like what did I do here, like why was I using this in this particular code, things like that. If you put in some references, it kind of becomes helpful while you go back and you're trying to debug some issues. And also always explore the resources, like you have a lot of forums and webinars that Epicor has, which kind of like help you stay updated. Like for example, the new 2025 version that has come up has a lot many features compared to the older versions. Like now you're able to use your updatable BAQs on your browser. You don't have to go back to your classic BAQ form. You can use the dashboards, although I've not tried much on that, but I know you can use your dashboards now on your 2025 directly, instead of going back from classic to Kinetic and all that. So always try to stay updated with these forums and webinars, because you can use the latest features that are already available instead of going back and using something that is now it no longer exists. One other thing that I wanted to talk about was, I know most of the clients this have been trying to use Kinetic, but some of them are still using Classic. I would say it's high time to start using the Kinetic forms as against the Classic forms before Epicor completely like says that you can no longer use Classic forms. At least like if you can give your users the look and feel of how the Kinetic forms are, it would be helpful at this stage before Epicor completely decides to say that Classic forms are no longer supported.